What is going on, folks? It is Steiner here with another episode of Secondhand Talent, here with a very special guest, the one, the only, the big fish. Welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you for having me.
Well, it's a pleasure to have you on. And folks, if you're listening and not watching, I just got a little something to say about our guest here. I want to tell you a little story about the big fish, and we're gonna tell it as it is. It's a mushel, as we say in Yiddish, or a parable, if you will. So his grandfather, the great fish, once asked the big fish a question when he was still relatively little. The great fish was from the old country, first off the boat from what is now Ukraine. A tough Jew that survived the annihilation of his Shtetl when the Cossacks cleaned house on the Czar's resources before the Bolsheviks could get their hands on any of the horses they raised. If you need context, folks, please read Animal Farm. The great fish knew that the little fish wasn't like the other kids in the family. He was quiet, reserved, and unflappable. He would do things the other kids wouldn't because he could keep his mouth shut and absorb any consequences. The great fish, as he pointed at the little one's forehead, asked, if you are asked the question, can you say yes? The little fish just looked at him, sitting in his Queen Anne chair with his legs crossed. Great fish struck fear into as many people as he helped when the coin was flipped. As a bounce of that question worked out for the now big fish, for he learned that all he had to do to fit a stereotype also defines what fair play is. For over three mostly fucked up decades, he had a settling. No more tough guy shit. Better to be enduring and sincere. Help the underdog without question. As is glued to getting musicians and their fans a deeper cut, the Big Fish's efforts have evolved into the humanity of it all and embraced it entirely. If someone makes music, that is what they need to be doing. If his efforts get them paid, what keeps them on stage and not stuck in a job they hate that keeps them from making music, then he will shake down whoever he has to make sure the musicians stay on that stage and doing what they love. Since he doesn't give a fuck about personal affirmation for doing his job, we're going to save that shit till we talk. Personal conversation means way more than a photo op. The more we talk, the more we learn. Big fish, welcome to Secondhand Talent. Thanks for being on the show.
Thanks, brother. It's a pleasure, man. I'm glad you're doing this. Not a lot of people would think about what you do, and I think it's fucking important.
Well, I really appreciate hearing that. And as you know, we have a question that we lead off every interview with. It kind of gets harder and harder to ask as we move on from, now we're in season four, which is kind of wild. But the first time I reached out to you, or maybe it was Cherie who reached out and said, hey, there's this podcast called Secondhand Talent. You should be on it. When you heard the phrase secondhand talent, what was the first thing that came to your mind?
That's interesting, man. I mean, you put secondhand with anything, and you start thinking of a fucking thrift store. But you know, I look at it and I go, we are the auxiliary of what happens in the fucking music world and what happens in the entertainment world, even as far as bars, nightclubs, fucking, you name it. Anybody who is on the working end of it is on the periphery, and that's what makes the music happen.
One of the things that I kind of liken it to, a metaphor that's kind of continued, kind of been a theme of this season, has been a Lego set.
Yeah,
You can be missing just that one piece brick, but the whole set, you can't put it together. Every cog in that machine is so essential to the whole thing functioning smoothly and properly. And we really, I would say rather the general consumer public doesn't really care for the, not, I don't want to say doesn't care for, but doesn't care to learn more about the folks that are putting in that time and energy to make those events and memories happen.
right. Well, they like to walk on by. Everybody wants to go see something or do something, but here we are in this world of podcasts. Let's use that for an example, dude. How many people are paying for a fucking podcast? All
I
right. Well,
actually,
you enjoy.
yeah.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Well, I was just gonna say, I actually don't even know if this is a podcast. Like, I mean, I call it a podcast, but I just like having fun. You know what I mean? Like, podcast
Well,
is just a
dude,
word, but I hear what you're saying.
it's taken the era of influencers and shit, and I'm from this old school. It's not that I don't know the technology, I don't know what's current and all that. You got to be up with everything, but at the same time, what they're negating by saying things like podcast and this, that, and the other is, I get that it's an associative term, but dude, when somebody's having an interview, you're having a conversation, and it's as much media as anything else that doesn't really have kind of a parameter. That's kind of the way I look at it. It's two dudes sitting here talking right now. That's what's important in this moment.
I fully agree. And, you occupy such a unique position in the industry. I mean, we last season we had on one of the people who's really responsible for me even having a career in the first place is a bouncer. My dear friend John Armatrano, who was the bouncer at the Abbey pub when we met. And you know, I really, the special affinity for people who keep us safe at shows. Because I've had friends who've been in trouble and bouncers have saved my friends' lives. And you know, and you also at the same time you catch all the shit.
Well,
And
and that's the thing. But
yeah,
I gotta put a little definition on this, because everyone seems to think it's security. It's not fucking security, dude.
um,
I don't carry a weapon.
mm,
I don't wear a fucking bulletproof vest. Okay. It's my brain to their fucking brain. And
mm.
if you're about ready to get jumped or something like that, dude, I'm gonna stand in front of you. I'm gonna get you the fuck out of the way, but I'm gonna stand in front of you. Now, I don't know many cops who do that, and I don't know. In fact, I don't know any cops who do that. And I sure as fuck don't think that some third string fucking lineman who's become a security guard who can't make it through the police academy, you know, is going to be the guy who's gonna actually help you, man. Something violent's going to come out of it. My whole stance is mitigate the violence.
Yeah,
You
I
know,
mean, you have to be, you're absolutely right. It's so much more than just security. I mean, you have to be involved. You have to be observant
right,
of the crowd. You just, say you have essentially the same responsibilities as the bartender as well as the doorman. You have to
right.
look at people coming in. You gotta see who's getting too drunk if someone else might not notice. You got to be able to be preemptive in your actions as well to be able, like you said, to mitigate those situations and the risk from occurring.
Well, and we don't want the bar to get pinched because somebody's violent. Because everybody, we live in this society that loves lawsuits, and you put your hands on somebody, dude, you've already breached that. You've already breached that fucking
Hmm.
parallel. That boundary's already been crossed, and there are people who are waiting for that. They come into bars, they come into nightclubs to do that. They want to set somebody up so that they can sue somebody. It's like the person who walks in front of traffic, falls down, and then says that somebody clipped them with their car. you know it's the same principle. And I just kind of, the way that I run it is maybe a little bit different. I know that it's frowned upon by a lot of people because they're like, what's with trying to keep people in here? And I'm like, well, the thing is keeping people in is, a, the band makes money, the bar makes money, the venue makes money. Okay, that's what keeps it there. The second thing that is right there, just equivalent to it, is being the person that they're gonna feel safe with. You know,
And I know I absolutely do. And to shout out once again my dear friend John, that was one of the assets that he provided just as an individual was that, when I was at a venue that he was at the door, like that added an extra layer of safety because I knew who he was and
exactly.
he took the time. Well, I mean, I took the time to know him. I mean, he and I had a special relationship. He was that the bartender, sorry, not the bartender, the bouncer at the first venue I ever performed at in Chicago.
Right.
So he and I go way back, for many reasons, but he is absolutely that dude who, as you'd say, would get in front of you and would protect you. And you're right. It's difficult to say, under the gun, would any given person in any given occupation or situation do the same thing? And I gotta ask, what led you into this line of work?
Getting the shit kicked out of me when I was a kid.
Okay, say
You know,
less. Yeah.
there's not much more to say, dude. You start getting sick of people, jumping you because you're the fucking tall guy, the big guy. And, it's not like in high school they have the capacity to do one person to one person type of shit. It was multiple people. And it was, hey, kick the shit out of Fish, see if he stands back up, and I would stand back up every time. So, I get this fucking hair up my ass, I start fucking bouncing these field parties and bouncing these house parties and shit. And then, comes around later on, I'll get asked to go stand in front of some random fucking bar. And then I'll get beat up by a roughneck from the oil fields in Bakersfield. And, I don't know if you've ever been to Bakersfield, California, but there's pretty, it's got a staring problem. And,
I know what that is.
and being, it's also, there's a lot of cultural shit that went along with it. Me being, one of the only Jews in the school, and I never kept it muted, you know, and that being a area that was very high on, white privilege and shit like that. When we actually had a very rich multicultural fucking history of people there. We had everybody from, you know, you name from where in Central South America. The Hispanic population was very vibrant. The African American community was very vibrant. They had more heart. They had more against them than any of the motherfuckers at the school. But if you're a Jew, well, fuck, dude. It's a high KKK area and it's a high white pride area. It's just, do the math. Eventually, two and two is going to equal four, and I'm going to be the fourth, and it's going to be the one who's going to get the shit kicked out of it. So I got sick of it. And I was like, well, fuck this shit, And, I had a little rough life with some shit at home where, it was kind of preparation for something that would happen later. I ain't going to get too deep. But, I had to be tough, and I didn't like having to get tough. There was nothing remotely cool about having to get tough for the reasons I did. But when I got into college, I got picked up by a music venue over in Norman, Oklahoma. Worked there throughout college, moved to Tulsa, worked at a couple places out here, and then back to California, and worked at a myriad of different places there, and then finally then Houston, Texas, believe it or not, I end up out here back in Tulsa, and that probably the best place to work for live music and for welcoming these new and emerging artists and being a part of it, because I get to squeeze the people at the door and get their money and pay these guys, and we have the owners and the management. They're so great about making sure the bands get paid and the artists get paid, that, it was like, you take the culmination of 30, I guess at the time before I landed here 6 years ago, 30 years of watching, observing, seeing artists get screwed out of their money, that I was finally able to be a part of being the voice for these guys. Because, dude, you're going to go perform. The last thing you want to do is chase your money. But you have to have someone you trust who's going to put that check in your hand and tell you exactly what this is and what that is, and make sure that you're on the up and up. And we do that over at Merc, which is Mercury Lounge, where I work in Tulsa. We do that at Merck. We take care of our artists. That comes first and foremost.
And first of all, check out the Mercury Lounge in Tulsa, Oklahoma. All their links are going to be in the description of this episode. So, go pass by there. If you're in the area, check it out. Go see a show there. Go say hey to the fish. I do want to ask though, and I do want to address one thing quickly before we move on. You
You
know,
got it.
you're absolutely right. The reasons why you had to become tough are not good.
No, and
And
nobody should have to.
that needs to be acknowledged because it's one thing to be, you're a big guy and you wound up being a bouncer, and it's a completely not separate thing if we're talking about, like there are deep-seated, issues that are related to, you know, growing up and trauma, you know, nobody nobody should go through that at all for any reason.
Never, never. And any bit of trauma that I find now, I mean, I'm married. I have a kid. I don't want my kid and I don't want my wife to be traumatized by anything. So what I can absorb for other people, what I can help them through, it just sometimes listening is the best medicine for anybody. Somebody who has an ear and will go, just talk, just talk. I won't solicit advice, but you need to be heard.
Well, one thing I really want to hear is what was there like particularly formative experience that you had that made you decide that this is what you wanted to do? Or
Yeah,
or please.
it's completely fucking separate from what you would think, but yes. Um, it's not. I mean, did you decide to be a performer from the beginning? Let me ask you that before I answer your question.
So I actually, long story short, my two younger brothers played instruments really well, and I could never get it right. And I really wanted to be in live music, so I became a comedian so I could be an MC.
Right.
And that's how I could get into live music. So
Uh,
I did it kind of sideways. Like I wanted to be a musician so bad I became a comedian. Uh, this podcast just kind of manifested a year and a half ago
well,
from the
dude,
time of
that's
its
what's so
taping.
fucking beautiful about it, man. I mean, look, comedians are some of my favorite people in the whole fucking world. I love comedians, man, because if we're going to talk things that were, trauma leading up or stuff like that, dude, talk to a comedian.
Yeah,
I have never
yeah.
met one that is truly happy.
Oh,
But
I
but
always say if you ever meet a happy comedian, they're a shitty comedian.
you're right. Because you know what, dude? There's nobody else who's going to explain it the way a comedian will with what people deal with on a daily basis. And that's what's so fucking beautiful is you're taking something that's hard for you to get up and perform. And you're making that subject into something that everyone that's relatable. And it goes beyond, to me, it's one of the more honorable things because it's like the guy who's heckling you is the guy I'm going to pull out and go, yo, dude, why don't you get up on the fucking stage and and try and do what he does? Or what
That
is
that
what
that's what I would tell him as you were pulling him out,
yeah.
probably. But I see, like, but here's the thing. Now let me interject here. As a performer, okay, as specifically as a performer, a comedian who has been in situations such as what you've described, right? I know I very vividly recall the times where there have been people like you at the door and times when there have not. And it makes a really difference on it's an impact on the entire atmosphere. It impacts the crowd, it impacts the performer, it impacts the staff. It really, when we talk about how every cog in the machine is essential, you know, it's so true because in a situation where your figure such as yourself is absent and the situation you described occurred and it got more severe like it once did,
Yeah.
had somebody like you not been at the door, I would have been severely injured.
course, of
And
course.
like
But your job isn't to get hurt. Sorry, I didn't mean to,
you're no, you're not wrong. You're not.
interrupt.
Well, but I mean, you're not wrong. But at the same time, you know, I mean, on the one hand, couldn't be more grateful for folks like you. On the other hand, it's a shame that we need you as much as we do.
Yeah, but you know what? I look at that and I kind of see it as a gift. I
How
look
so?
at it because I'm given the opportunity every night of going somewhere where I can see somebody fucking make a historical performance. Okay. It doesn't matter if they're known, it doesn't matter. They are making something happen that spreads among all, say, 150 people that are at Merck on the patio and inside, right? Okay. They play one note, they play the right note, dude, and everyone's looking. And to be a part of that where somebody's has a visceral response. Well, dude, you don't get to go to a job as a fucking stockbroker or working at the county and have somebody say, wow, this moment changed my life, unless they're getting fucking laid off or
Yeah, right.
unless they get a
Hire, hire,
promotion.
hired or fired, right? Yeah, one or the other. Well, so okay, let's get back to it though. We're wandering.
Yeah.
What was that moment for you? And you
When I,
asked me, you asked me why, or how I had become a performer,
right.
and that's when we got off on a bit of a tangent. That's okay. That's what happens.
As a tangent should be, man. I mean, tangents are part of conversation. Um, Now I look at them as, something
Tangential.
very, no, tangential. Yeah, they're fucking tangential. Everybody needs to stand on a platform, and I'm good with that. I want everyone to stand on a platform. That shows honor. But when I was, I think when I was like 20, so my 20s, just got out of school, had that fucking ideal. Yeah, I'm gonna drop doing this nighttime shit. I'm gonna get out of the shadows and I'm gonna get a real job. I got a real job. And I remember my first fucking interview. And I was asked, so do you have a problem with authority? And my response was, what a stupid question. I'm like, that has to be one of the dumbest interview questions I've ever heard. And she goes, well, are you calling me dumb? I go, no, I'm not calling you dumb. I just think your line of questioning isn't exactly welcoming to try and get somebody to work for you for what you're fucking paying. And
Yeah.
somehow I got the job, and I'm looking at it. It's 1990 fucking 8, and I'm working in basically a social work position, right? I was doing grants, educational grants, and working with kids who are at risk and their families and stuff, and doing the whole treatment and control group thing, and I started to see these big just tears in the system just because of that. It's like, so you're paying me to give this group of people something, and then you're paying me to give empty promises to this group of people that you already have nothing, and you want to take more away, and you want to see what the effect is. I'm like, I'm not cool with that. I'm just not cool with that. I lasted for about a year and a half and immediately got my fucking night jobs, squared away so that I could go back to what I loved, which was doing doors. And I thought to myself, I'm never going to get a hug over at this fucking place. I'm never going to shake somebody's hand without them wondering what I'm up to,
Or
um,
what you want.
or what I want.
Right. Which like that
And
everything is transactional, right? Like, yeah.
exactly. And my true feelings on a matter are not going to be heard. Um, and I don't have any grounds to defend myself for any reason. Whereas bouncing is the most honorable, the only honorable profession left in the fucking world.
I think that's a pretty bold statement right there, sir. I'm not necessarily gonna deny it, but I would love to hear you back it up.
I'm not saying I'm right or wrong, but tell me what other job you can go to where you get to go in, you get to give as many people love as they need. You get to have cool, you know, experiences with artists all the time. You get to help people who would be marginalized otherwise in a very real time situation. You get to listen to music, you get to listen to comedy, you get to help be one of the people who builds up the musicians and say, dude, you're here, you're gonna fucking do it because you're gonna do it well because that's what you do. And there ain't anybody in this joint who doesn't want to see you right now. They're here for you. Now, do you get to say that at a social work job?
No. Not even.
No.
It's not even in the realm of possibility. It's not. I mean, you could say it and you could give all the platitudes you'd like, but I mean, like, you're not I mean, you're coming from a position of authority only insofar as the other person perceives it. You're in an actual position of authority where you're speaking
Right,
from.
right. But at the same time, I get to go if somebody does, fuck up or do something that's, not going to be part and parcel to what we do. I get to look at him and say, hey, dude, you need to leave. You need to go. And he looks at me and he spits in my face. And I say, well, now you're really going to go. You can go fuck yourself on the way out. So, yeah, I mean, tell me another fucking job that you can do that. And then the next day when he's fucking sober, he comes in and he says, dude, I'm sorry. I know what I did wrong. And me going, is it that you want in here or are we going to understand each other? Because if we're going to understand each other, that's a whole different conversation. But if you're just trying to fuck me and you're just going to spit in my face again, then dude, there are plenty of other places to go.
So there's a litmus where it's like you have an opportunity for redemption, but like, like fuck with me twice, then fuck out of here.
I love second chances, man. Not everybody has a good night. We don't know what brings people into a bar. The
Truth.
good thing and the thing that I say is the most honorable, why it's the most honorable, is because everyone comes in for a reason. All right. Most of them, if it's not some celebration, is going to be because there is something in their life that they're trying to get out of their head. You know,
They have something that they're there to externalize in one way or another. If
right.
it's
So
dancing, if it's, yelling, if it's whatever the case may be.
yeah, okay, look at it this way, dude. You ever go into a bar and you put on you okay, you know how the DJs are. They'll put on a fucking tune that everybody hears. Nobody knows each other in this club or this bar, but everyone's singing the same fucking song. Now that's a lot of power.
Mm.
Okay. So when I get to witness that and I get to say, this is what can bring people together, this can heal people. The music is so fucking important. The comedian, the performer, the jazz performer, the pianist, any orchestration you can think of. They know that one note. They know those lyrics. They know that the comedy act is going to address something that hits them where they start getting butterflies. Dude, I wasn't this way 6 years ago. I wasn't this way 14 fucking years ago. I looked at myself as a fucking warrior. I had no problem in doing what the stereotype did, and then I cooled off.
You've been in this game for a while. What are some of the moments that stand out earlier in your career before you kind of changed your tune, as you alluded to before?
Never kick someone's mom out in the bar when all of her kids and her fucking husband are in the bar with her.
Wait. Hold on. Did you, several questions. But first and foremost, wait, no, okay. I thought I had a first and foremost question, but I guess now my new first and foremost question is the family and the kids, they were all drinking at the bar together.
Well, the kids were grown, of course. Yeah,
Oh, okay, that's okay. All
yeah,
right.
I say kids. They were kids. They were her kids. But
No,
I've
okay, but that's what I
right.
wanted to. Okay, all right. So, and it was only
No,
mom that needed to be thrown out.
dude, she was getting fucked up with the owner of the place I worked. Right, and he just kept feeding her fucking shots and shit. Right, because they were pouring money in. I mean, he was just fucking owner was being a dipshit. I walked in on it when I came in for my shift, and I'm like, this can't fucking stay. And I just walked right over to her, and I'm like, hey, you gotta slow down. And she didn't, of course. And I could see her boys. She had like fucking 8 boys. They say boys, they were fucking men. Anyway, um, I'll never forget it was when OU played Kansas State, and we would do the happy hour right while the game was going on and stuff. And you didn't know what kind of fucking shit show you were walking into to begin with, but you knew it was going to be a shit show. Anyway, I walk up and I look at the owner. I'm like, "What the fuck are you doing?" I'm like, "Dude, they're going to shut us down if somebody walks in, man. You can't go buying people all these drinks. I'm the fucking owner. I'll do what I want." I'm like, right. And then finally they get into an argument. She, her husband, and the fucking owner get into an argument. And he calls me over and he's like, "Fish, get these motherfuckers out." I was like, "Well, guys, time to go." I walked them out, no big deal, right? Kick them all out, no big deal. And then I get out and I was like, "Hey, her sons go out there," and I was pretty young. I was still probably this would have been 1995. I think I was like 22 years old. I still hadn't gotten all my feet on me. I was still learning a little bit, and guy was like, "No problem." Van comes to pick them up. They pick them up. I'm like, "Okay, no big deal." They fucked off. Well, they go around the block, pull around again. Everyone jumps out, and then fucking 10 people, mother included, all fucking jump me.
What?
Yeah, it was a nightmare. It was crazy. And these were the days where, it was still in the 90s where it was still, you didn't there was no mediation.
No, no.
You know, you were fighting your way out of that shit.
You're
And
not
so,
you're not filing a civil suit.
right. Yeah. Well, and of course, the other bouncer arrived right when I was getting the shit kicked out of me, and I'll be first one to admit, man, I was getting fucking worked, man. I think I had a broken nose, but my shoulder had been
Jesus.
pulled out of fucking socket. My hands were fucking bloody. There were 2 guys on the fucking ground for whatever I did to them, and then the mother screaming her fucking head off, telling her boys, "Kill him, just fucking kill him." I'm like, well, shame on you. You should watch your mouth. And and that's when
That's
I'm like,
it.
how do you kiss your kids with that fucking thing? And her fucking husband comes up and he's like, "What did you say to my wife?" I'm like, "Walk away, you cuck. You're fucking no good to anyone." And and then finally it broke up, and enough people had been pulled off, and it just turned into a fucking insult match, which was right up my alley because I'll keep up
Oh
with the
yeah.
best of them. I
Oh,
fucking
there you
love that
go.
shit. Let's go. Come on, dude. Spell it out. You've been drinking for hours. I'm perfectly fucking sober, dude, and I'm not in a good mood. So I'm gonna really fucking dig deep into that fucking hypothalamus of yours and pull the fucking spinal cord out through your ear.
Yeah,
Listen to it.
your blood alcohol percentage is the same as your IQ, motherfucker. Like
Yeah,
fucking.
none of them are impressive. You know, you're not doing good math. Okay, and
So
yeah,
you're just getting your legs under you. You're 22. You're getting the shit kicked out of you.
yeah.
What's the next for? Let's take this linear path that we're developing here. What's the next moment that you can that comes to mind?
All right. So we live in a day and age where now we're very politically correct and we're very, we're very observant of things that didn't happen in the 90s and the early 2000s, right? There were still people who thought that, their cool could get them in the door. Well, by this time I'd already wised up, because at nightclubs you have two lines. You've got the line that's willing to wait 5 hours to get in, and then you have the line that's willing to be VIPs.
Yeah.
Okay, which is basically throw me $20 per person, then you got to go pay the fucking cover charge to get in.
Yep. Yep.
You know,
That's
you
that.
know,
Yep.
that's it.
That's VIP. An extra Jackson out of your pocket.
That
That's VIP.
and that's for groups. If it's one person, it's dude, you give me $100 to cut this line.
Oh yeah.
Well, so this guy comes up, right? This is 2000. This dude looks like fucking. He looks like a cartoon. Have you ever seen The Fifth Element?
I've seen a little bit of it.
Okay, trying to think of another thing that would relate to it. It's like, dude, if you were to watch any Ren and Stimpy type of thing, dude, it would be like, it would be like one of the fucking big characters in there, walks in,
Kind of
glamour. Yeah,
like Ed, and Eddie, like how it'd be like the super nice guy.
yeah, a
Like,
whole bunch of
like the
fucking
parents.
wind, and not enough fucking rain,
Oh, Johnny Bravo.
kind of, And I was like, all right,
Johnny Bravo in a suit.
there you go. He walks up, and this dude's beautiful. I mean, he is just a fucking gorgeous man. I have no compunction saying that. You look at him, and you know that he has had a skin treatment, fucking, a day before, so that the red would go out in the morning. And he comes up, he pulls up in this fucking, you know, it was one of those, the Audi that fucking was in Pulp Fiction that Harvey
Oh
Keitel
yeah, 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 yeah.
drove up in one of those. I'm like, still not that fucking impressive, dude. It's not a Bentley, so I already know you're making payments. Um, he comes up and he's like, tries to walk through, just tries to walk. Whoa, 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 whoa! Wait a minute, wait a minute.
Slow your roll.
We gotta discuss a little bit of propriety here. Well, I don't know. I know somebody. I know somebody who knows somebody. So now we're gonna go into this. I reach in my pocket. I used to carry a pocket full of these tiny little plastic babies.
Okay.
Right. So I hand him a handful of these babies,
Uh-huh.
and I said, "Well, here you go, dude. Just hand these to any girl you meet in here. All right, knowing full and well that that's what's going to get him kicked out." Because a girl's gonna look at him like, "What the fuck are you doing? You know this guy has no fucking legs under him, dude. He's fucking skipped legs day his whole fucking life." And I was
Can't
like, "Dude,
skip leg day, boys. You got to set the
exactly."
tone. You got to set the fucking tone.
The funny thing is he's not even fucking. He's probably about 5 foot fucking six. So of course he's just fucking
It's
peacocky,
exactly Johnny
right?
Bravo, dude. The fucking ostrich legs.
And I'm like, okay, so we forgot legs day. We're coming up. Like you're gonna get. I said he comes up and I say, hey, we're gonna change it up a little bit. I looked over at the guys next to me. I go, you guys want to have some fun? They're like, yeah. I'm like, okay. Of course, he didn't hear a fucking word of it. He was too self-absorbed trying to figure out how to fucking make sure that the pleats in his pants don't look pleated. And I go, all right, bud. You know what? We got a superstar here. Get on in there, dude. But these babies, you need to fucking hand these out, dude. Just any woman in there will fucking love the fact that you put this in their hand. They know what you mean when you do it. Of course, they have no fucking idea. And I put two guys watching him the whole fucking time, right? And he's Mr. fucking, oh, this girl's gonna give me this, that, and the other. And he hands her a baby, and she fucking throws a drink in his fucking face. and, and one of the guys brings him out, and he's got this fucking, you know, he's got this fucking cranberry drink just dripping all over his nice fucking white suit. And I go, next time you come up, dude, instead of coming up and telling me how fucking important you are, give me $100 and then go fucking pay the cover. I go, then we can be friends. I go, until then, dude, there's probably I go, you can go across the street to the fucking pool hall that'll allow anyone in.
Holy shit, that's and then, I mean, what did they do? I mean,
What's he
there's
gonna
nothing
do?
he. What's he gonna say? What's he gonna come back with
What's he gonna
after
do?
that?
He got emasculated in front of everybody, dude. And see, that's another thing is I have a huge problem with dudes like that. I'm like, I was brought up to fucking, respect women, you know, and to, acknowledge how strong, dynamic, and everything else that men aren't with women. And so when guys come up and they're piggish, it's like, dude, you're setting yourself up because you already hit my fucking nerve. And you think I'm gonna let you stay for any fucking period of time, dude? I'm gonna let you go in. I'm gonna let you fuck up. And then after that, if you don't learn your fucking lesson, you ain't ever getting back in here. And matter of fact, you
Damn
keep on
right.
coming. What people don't understand about, the service industry and about, bars and nightclubs is we talk.
Everybody know everybody. Everybody
Fuck.
knows everybody, and everybody talks to everybody.
Someone comes off as a creep, dude, they're going to be fucking known as a creep and it's going to get out like wildfire, dude. I mean,
86th. Yep.
86, that's it. Done for life, man. You ain't getting anywhere. You want to buy a drink that I don't even know, 7-Eleven that'll fucking sell you anything now. And
You're done.
that's it. That's the way. But that was working in a nightclub. Then I moved to LA and everything fucking changed. It was weird. It was weird, but not bad weird. It was, LA was a lot more sterile. People always say, oh, bet it was wild over there. I'm like, not even close, dude. The fucking interior of the country, you have no port cities outside of Chicago and maybe Milwaukee and somewhere in Michigan. You don't have any port cities, so there's nothing coming in. There's no new blood coming in. What the fuck do
Mm.
you have to do in the middle of the country other than drink, fight, fuck? And when you're in LA, it's much more sedate. It's much more classy. It's much more not drinking to puke all over the fucking place. It's much less fighting and stuff like that. But what you did see was you'd see some other interesting shit, whether it would be,
Real
these,
quick,
yeah.
I don't want to interject, but I kind of want to leave folks hanging. Folks, we're gonna hear about LA in part two with the big finish. We'll see you next Wednesday. This is Steiner with Secondhand Talent. Stay tuned. We're keeping you posted with more stories. All right. Now just I'm gonna intro back in.